Krishna. Liebe Devotees, liebe Gäste, ein herzliches Willkommen hier zu unserem Krishna-Tempel Zürich an unserem Sonntag. Krishna, dear guests and dear devotees, very, very warm welcome to our Sunday program at our Krishna Temple Zurich. Is someone here for the first time? Welcome. Hare Krishna. And also someone here. What are your names?
Rocio.
Rocio. Welcome, Rocio. You? Roberto. Welcome, Roberto. And here? Gabriel. Welcome, Gabriel. Our Sunday program is as follows. We will have now a talk on a specific subject till 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock there will be our feast, vegetarian feast. At 6:15 there will be a guided mantra meditation. At 7 o'clock a temple ceremony. And from 8 o'clock onwards there will be more kirtan, singing of mantras. For today's talk, we are very happy to invite here Her Grace Loka Pavani Manachi. Please welcome her with a big Haribol. She's originally from Croatia and is living here with her husband Harika Tababu for now 14 years in Switzerland, and she's been practicing Krishna consciousness I think for the past 17 years, and you may have seen her. She has engaged in this temple with different services, especially whatever is concerned with the deity department, as a pujari, as a cook. But she's also giving seminars. Currently one is going as Gita Life, and many other courses. She has a degree in law, and today she's going to speak on the topic, the Vedas, giving us an overview about the ancient scriptures from India. So before we start, we request everyone, please come closer. Come very close, and I want to also ask about the translation. Braucht jemand eine deutsche Übersetzung? Manu Prabhu, he will give you the German translation, and
They both speak Russian.
okay. I wish you a happy Sunday. Hare Krishna.
So you can come even a little bit more closer, so I don't feel like I'm so, I don't know, far from you. So thank you very much for coming. So today's topic is actually a very scholarly topic. It's not so much bhakti, maybe more like information based. You don't have to know these things, so don't be afraid. But it's nice to hear about it, because when you read Srila Prabhupada's books, especially his purports, then you will see like what are these texts he's referring to, where they're coming from. We will also mention like the 6 philosophies, which are actually interpreting the Vedas, and he also refers to them. So you will know a little bit about it, because I think it is nice to know where the Vedas come from. So before we start, actually I will sing a little bit Jaya Radha Madhava, and then, but very briefly. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamne Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Vishesha Srimati Krishna Sudeshatari Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Vacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, today we're going to talk about an overview of the Vedas. But this overview is systematically made by Shankaracharya, who was an impersonalist philosopher. I think he lived in 8th or 9th century after Christ. And he gave a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, and his systematization is taken just because everyone liked it. But the Vedas as such always existed, maybe not in this systematization, but the knowledge of it wasn't there. And so we will see how it all started, in a way, and what was given to the living entities of the universes, created universes. Because there is not only one universe, but many universes created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all about creation you can find out in Srimad Bhagavatam. But when this Lord created universes, by his breath, he created the Vedas. So this knowledge, because Veda means knowledge, is something that it's not out of this world. It's not human-made. It comes from the spiritual world, and that's why we accept it, and we try to practice the hypotheses which are written in the various scriptures in our everyday life through the sadhana, so that we can have realizations and come to the conclusion that actually all that is written in the Vedas is true. So as we said, Veda means knowledge. It comes from Sanskrit, a word Ved, which means to know. And it includes all knowledge. So it doesn't have to be just spiritual knowledge, it can be material knowledge, and we will see in which way. So Srila Prabhupada, he also says, like, when answering the question, what are the Vedas? He says the Sanskrit verbal root of Veda can be interpreted variously, but the purport is finally one. Veda means knowledge. Any knowledge you accept is Veda, for the teachings of the Vedas are the original knowledge. So this is from one of his lectures that he gave. And why do we need this Vedas to understand the world? What do you think? Like, what are they giving us that we don't have, that we cannot perceive? And why we don't have it? Maybe I didn't form the question rightly, but yes, Pavani.
Usually we get to hear that humans, we have 4 defaults, and that's like we have imperfect senses, and we are tempted to cheat, and we also are in illusion and have misconceptions in that sense. And that's why we are not able to create the perfect knowledge. So we have to have a source that is not
Source that is perfect.
yes.
So the perfect source can only come from a perfect person. And the perfect person is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Yamuna was right. So these are the 4 defects of all of us. Because we have these bodies and these minds which are limited. So we commit mistakes and we have experience of it. Every one of us has committed a mistake. We become illusioned, so that means that sometimes we misunderstand things or we don't see things in a right way. And why? Because we have imperfect senses. So this, I don't think that has to be explained in details, because we know that there are certain things in this world that exist, but we don't see it, we cannot perceive it with our senses, but we, for example, need, microscopes, telescopes, or some other scopes to help us to understand the world around us. And the 4th defect is that we have a tendency to cheat others. And this cheating doesn't have to be like, oh, you're an evil person and then you're going to go and cheat around. It means that just because you possess the knowledge which is not perfect, if you transmit this knowledge to someone else, you are cheating the person, because what you are giving him is not the real truth. So in that sense, you are cheating. And that is why Krishna gives us all this. And Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the reason why he gives this knowledge is because he loves us, and he feels also compassion towards us, and he gives us free will. So by this free will, we have the need to fulfill certain desires, and therefore he helps us. And to fulfill these desires, we need this material creation, because we have material desires. And because of that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates the universes. So one of the reasons is that he wants to facilitate the fulfillment of your desires, and therefore he gives you this material world to enjoy in a wrong way, but still he gives you because you have free will, but also because you will become frustrated because you cannot fully fulfill your desires, you cannot be fully satisfied in this world. You will become one day frustrated one way or the other, at least in old age when disease comes and so on. So he gives you a way how to get out of this material world. So the Vedas, they give you both. They give you material knowledge by which you can nicely live in this world and use this body in the ways that you want to use it, but also it gives you spiritual knowledge of how to transcend this world and come to your constitutional position as the spirit soul. And because this knowledge is given by the perfect person, it is called Apaurushaya, which means infallible. It means it's so perfect and it comes from the spiritual world. So this is also what Srila Prabhupada says in one of his lectures. We always quote the authorities who have realizations, who have written books, who have given lectures, who are considered to be acharyas, the ones who teach by example. So one of those acharyas is Srila Prabhupada in our disciplic succession, like the chain of spiritual masters that come in the teachings that we apply in our lives. So he says that the Vedas are not compilations of human knowledge. Vedic knowledge comes from the spiritual world, from Lord Krishna. So since Lord Krishna is God, he's not an ordinary person, so by his breath he can actually produce these Vedas. Many things he can do for many parts of his body. So that's why we accept it as true, because the spiritual body has different qualities than the material body, and therefore it is possible for him to do these things. And because we cannot understand it, sometimes because we don't have the ability to see or realize, then we put these features of the Lord in the category of inconceivable potencies of the Lord. Like when we cannot explain certain things, then we put it there. But it's okay that these things are there because they can be revealed to us. Like God can show us these inconceivable powers to us, and therefore we can see them. And the great acharyas and saints, they saw it, and we will see in which way and how it's connected to the Vedas. So I don't know how good you can see this table of division of the Vedas. First, at the beginning, there was only one Veda, and its name was Yajus. And this Veda was divided by Srila Vyasadeva into 4 Vedas. But what for some might be interesting is that, as we know, in the Vedic cosmology, especially in the cosmology of time, we have 4 yugas or ages. What's the name of the first one? I can't remember. Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Kali Yuga. We are currently in Kali Yuga. So it is said that in Dwapara Yuga, the Vedas were destroyed. I don't know the story how they were destroyed, but they were destroyed. And because of that, Lord Brahma and the demigods, they became agitated, and whenever they become agitated, worried, in anxiety, they approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated on one planet in the material universe called Shvetadvipa. They come to the shore of the Milk Ocean, and then they pray to the Lord. And so the Lord always fulfills the prayers and takes into account the prayers of his devotees, and demigods are always considered to be the devotees of the Lord. So he therefore incarnated as Srila Vyasadeva. That's why he came as an incarnation of Vyasadeva, and therefore took this one Veda and then divided it into 4. So these 4 Vedas are called Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva. And he gave each Veda to a certain disciple. We will see there is a table later on. So you will see that each Veda has a disciple, and this disciple then took his own disciples and disseminated the knowledge of the Vedas to others. And these categories, which are called Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads, they are part of each of these Vedas. So each Veda has these divisions of Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads. So Samhitas, they're like songs and mantras which are sang during certain rituals. Because what is important to know is that the Vedas, they contain all the knowledge, and by that I mean when we talk about rituals, when we talk about worship, it's not only the worship of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but also the demigods. But I will talk about that a little bit later. So Samhitas, they describe songs. Can't see what's below Brahmana. Okay. But I have my notes. Can you see?
Which was?
I can't see. Yeah. Okay. I have it somewhere else. Anyway, and Upanishads, they are called this way because they contain like the dialogues between a disciple and a spiritual master. So this Upanishad actually means sitting below the spiritual master and asking him questions. And they are actually the main philosophical books of the Vedas that contain the knowledge about transcendence, which means that they are exploring Brahman, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the concept of something that's higher, transcendental, and Atman, which is Jiva, and their relationship. So basically they are the main ones. Samhitas and Brahmanas, they also contain like various prescriptions about various samskaras or initiations or rituals in everyday life. The first two actually they contain rules that are pertained to grihastas and also brahmacharis, and also Rig and Yajurveda are the ones who pertain to these two categories of social order. And the Samaveda and Atharva Veda, they pertain to persons who took sannyas or renounced order of life, or vanaprasas, which are by some scholars translated as dwellers of the forest. So these are just people who go to the forest and renounce things. So you can see that for each of us and for every stage of our lives, these 4 categories of Vedas, they have certain prescriptions and so on. And mostly they're considered spiritual because they elevate us spiritually, so we can progress in a certain way by following these rules. Upavedas are like scriptures that contain knowledge and rules about some material things. There are 4 Upavedas, and they are called, one is Ayurveda. I didn't have a table to write it here, but Ayurveda, and everyone knows what is Ayurveda. So books about healing of people's bodies, so medicine. Then Dhanurveda, it talks about the science of warfare. So we know that Dronacharya, he was in the Mahabharata, he was considered to be a guru of Dhanurveda. He was teaching the Pandavas and the Kauravas how to fight in a war. So in that sense, he was their guru, and he was transmitting this knowledge. Then we have Gandharva Veda. Maybe some of you could guess what that is.
Music.
Yeah, science of music. And Artha Shastra. Maybe someone. No, that was Dhanurveda. Artha Shastra.
How to make wealth.
Yeah, economy and administration, so these kind of things are prescribed there. So because it is very complicated and to remember everything that's written in the Vedas, and because the time makes the Vedas archaic, there was a need to write or to add Vedangas. So Veda Anga means the limb of the Veda and why they are here. They help you to recite properly the Vedas, to understand them, to know when to apply certain rituals. For example, it contains the rules and knowledge of Jyotish. So all of you know, I mean not all of you, but most of you know what is Jyotish. Can someone say?
Shastra.
Yes. So in the Vedic times, when you wanted to perform a certain ritual, whether it was a marriage or, I don't know, initiation or something, they would consult Jyotish to see like if it's a proper time to do this ritual, if the planets are bona fide for it, and so on. So this was used. And also like we know that the day is divided according to certain modes of nature. So then you also know when to do what is beneficial to do in a certain part of the day. And we also apply this, even though we don't read these Vedas. But for example, when we chant in the morning, we wake up for Brahma Muhurta, right? That is 1 hour before the sun rises, which is considered the most beneficial time for chanting. So in a way, this comes from Jyotish because it's time of the day, and that is the time where we will get the most benefit of our chanting. So things like this. Okay. And these Vedas, Upavedas and Vedankas, they are these original Vedas, and they're called Shruti. And that is a knowledge which is transmitted by hearing, so you have to hear it. And Shru means to hear, so therefore this category is called Shruti. Another category is called Smriti. And this is composed by the sages about their realizations or confirmations of the Vedic knowledge, or mostly realizations, but also like some rules that help us to apply the Vedas. But not only that, it also contains Puranas, which are like histories, various histories of various personalities, various families that lived in the history not of planet Earth but universe itself, and many other universes, many other ages. And why they're given? They're given as stories to actually tell the history, but also to explain the spiritual knowledge in the lives of the people that Puranas describe. Then we have Itihasas. These are also histories in a way, epics. For example, Mahabharata and Ramayana, they're contained there. And why this is important for us? Because Bhagavad Gita is part of Mahabharata. And Bhagavad Gita is considered to be the essence of the Vedas. So you see, it's like someone was polishing all these scriptures and had all these realizations, and because we are not capable also to understand and also to contain in our brains such knowledge, these great sages, and I mean Krishna here came 5,000 years ago at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, but it was written in such a way that everyone can understand it, because in the age of Kali, people have short memories, they're always disturbed, they're in anxiety and so on. So this was like a book that was given to us to help us to understand. So also we have tantras, which are spoken by Lord Shiva to Parvati, and these are various stories. They contain stories about Shiva and Parvati themselves, also transcendental knowledge, also knowledge about Krishna and his various stories, even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So just that you know like what is mentioned here and what are the differences. So Shruti are the original Vedas, which were transmitted by hearing from a disciple to a disciple, and all these other books next to the Vedas were written to help us understand the core of the Vedas. But because the Vedas themselves became archaic, all these other smritis were added as books of various sages, and they also differ depending on the age in which they were written, because circumstances of life and life itself and conditions of life, it changes through time. So you will also see today, like for example, Srila Prabhupada, he gave us Bhagavad Gita, he gave us Srimad Bhagavatam, he gave us Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you will see later how that looks. These are like the main 4 books of understanding Bhakti Yoga now. But 50 years has passed since Prabhupada came and gave this knowledge, and now we have people who cannot read these books. They don't understand them. It's very difficult for them to understand. So therefore, to understand those books of Prabhupada, many other books are written. So the people can finally understand. For example, we have this Gita Life course that started today about Bhagavad Gita, but it's very, how to say, if someone would speak Croatian, I would like to ask. Prilagoditi, adjusting, yes. Yeah, the language that Keshava Swami, for example, who wrote Gita Life, he adjusted the language to the language that people use today. Like, because even what Prabhupada read, for some people it's like, I can't understand it, I can't grasp it, it's too philosophical and so on. And yeah, so this is a very difficult task to actually explain all this, because it's too much. It's like too many informations, too many scriptures, and you're wondering what I'm going to do with that. But it's good like to know about it, that this exists, and if I read it somewhere in some purpose, then this I can connect, like this is from here. And if you want to know more also, I can also share with you the slides and all of this. You can Google, research and so on, because most of these things are covered by scholars at the universities, to be honest, not so much in the temples. And then we have 6 darshans. So So what is that now? That's also like to give you a headache. So all this Vedic knowledge, there are 6 schools of philosophy who then started to give their own interpretations on the Vedic knowledge. So there are 6 schools of philosophy. And you will, if you read Prabhupada's books, you will see that he talks about 6 philosophies. That a person who sits on a Vyasasana should actually know all these 6 philosophies and should also defeat all the 6 philosophies, because that's actually what Vyasadeva did. So also, in order to understand an overview of the Vedas, you also need to know the content of the Vedas, like what is it going on, why these things are written. And you will know why these things are written if you go a little bit more in the books. So therefore we have Vedanta, school of thought, which has 2 branches. One is impersonalistic, and the other one is, and this one is by Shankaracharya, who was an impersonalist, and later on I will explain what that is. And then we have Vyasadeva. Then we have Karma Mimamsa, which talks about that actually you are the master of your faith, and by your activities you can actually control your life, let's say it like that. Then we have Nyaya, which is logic and argument, which means that the supreme truth can be known by our own efforts through our own intellect. Then we have Vaisheshika, which is very similar to Nyaya in the sense that both of them, they say that the cause of everything, like what is the cause of the material world, that it was caused by atom. Nyaya says only atom, and Vaisheshika says the clusters of atoms. So this is like real, like hardcore philosophy. And then you have yoga as a school of thought, and this should be known to you like Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, right? But this is not so simple as it is presented today. Today you know yoga through the yoga studios and where you go and exercise. But behind these exercises and asanas there is a philosophy that talks about many things. And then you have Sankhya philosophy, which actually analyzes the material world and then puts the material world into categories and then analyzes what is the cause of it. Again, like really, really hardcore philosophy. So, to make your life even more complicated, we have something that is called Prashtanatraya. So it's like a system of how to understand the Vedas, or the Vedic knowledge. It's through Shruti, which describe what to do, like how to live your life, what to do in this universe. Smriti, they explain to you how to do it because they prescribe certain rules on how to live your life. And Nyaya explains the philosophy, like why you are doing it. And this is the simple overview of the Vedas. So these are sources of knowledge, and they're, as I said at the beginning, based on Shankaracharya's systematization. I won't repeat, so we have Shruti, Smriti, and Nyaya. And you can see here how they're gained through hearing, through remembering, and on the basis of knowledge and argument. And Smriti and Nyaya, so these philosophical schools, 6 of them, and Smriti, so the ones that were given by the sages, they just confirm the Vedas. So that's the whole point, to give you the confirmation that actually what Vedas talk about is the truth. This is another classification, a little bit easier for you to understand. So Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, creates the material world through his expansion of Lord Narayan, who then creates the first living being, Lord Brahma, and he gives the Vedas through his breath to Brahma. There was one Veda divided into 4, and each Veda has 4 divisions that we explained a little bit. Rig Veda, we said that it's about reciting hymns. We also said it's not only to Krishna, but to demigods, Agni, Indra, Soma, Surya, Vayu, Varuna, Usas, which is the dawn, that's a goddess actually, Ratri, goddess Ratri, the night, and goddess Prithvi, the earth. So we also have to understand that the demigods are servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They have certain roles in the universe, and they also like to accept the offerings of their own worshippers. That's how it's made in this material world. And therefore, if they are satisfied, therefore they give their blessings. So this is also what is described in the Vedas. Because when Krishna creates the material universe, there are various categories of persons who are created in that moment. Some people are in lower modes of nature, like ignorance. They live a life which is maybe tamastic in the sense of laziness, not having good habits, and so on. Then you have people who are very passionate, who are very active, who want results, who want money, who want to create something, and so on. And then you have people who are in sattva guna, or mode of goodness, who are more like peaceful, more intellectual, more in meditation, and so on. So for all the categories, I'm just now talking about human beings, these rules are prescribed there. And each of these persons can apply their own rules, which apply to them, because they are in a certain mode of goodness, and this allows them to then advance in spiritual knowledge. So that's the whole point of the Vedas. They give you the rules, and they allow you to advance. But the point of it all is the song that we sang at the beginning, Jaya Radha Madhava, to know the Vedas, to know Krishna. So Radha Madhava, that is the divine couple. And this song that we sang is like that Krishna, the darling of Srimati Radharani, and darling of the gopis, and darling of Mother Yashoda, is playing his flute, and he's walking on the bank of Yamuna in the grooves of Vrindavan. So this is the summum bonum, or this is the absolute truth that actually we want to have a relationship with, and we want to have a realization of him in our lives. And all these Vedas, all these things, all this rule, they take us there. But since we are all on different levels, therefore there are various kinds of books here. Then we have Yajurveda, and as I said, this is about performing sacrifices or yagyas. They have various mantras. We, in our deity worship, also in some yagyas like homas, some things are used from these categories of Vedas. I'm not an expert in that, so. Samaveda, again, it's a Veda which takes some of the songs from Rig Veda, also gives instructions on how to perform rituals, such as horse sacrifice, for example, and also how to worship Soma, or the moon. Atharva Veda is quite interesting, more interesting than others at least a little bit, because it contains magical formulas. Also, of course, religious medicine, marriages, cremation ritual rules. But this magical formulas, it means that it can give you some relief from certain things that are happening in your life if you recite certain mantras. But you can also, through this book, curse others, which is also not nice. But it gives you the good stuff, but also the bad stuff. It reveals ancient techniques of medicine practice, warfare and rituals, as well as astrological knowledge and philosophical speculation. But you can see that through all of these books, some of these aspects are there. So we already mentioned these samhitas, but now I can finally say what it is because I can see. So samhitas are mantras and benedictions meant for brahmacharya and grihastha stages, which means one who live in celibacy or one who live in family life. Then we have brahmanas, commentaries on and explanation of ritual ceremonies and sacrifices such as birth of a baby, coming of an age, marriage, retirements, and cremation. Aranyakas are texts on rituals, ceremonies, and sacrifices. They are meant for vanaprasthas, or people who go into the forest, and sannyasa stages. And as we said, Upanishads are texts of knowledge, conversations between disciple and a teacher. The primary concern is with the nature of the absolute reality, Brahman, the true nature of the individual's self, Atman, and the relationship between Brahman and Atman. So you can see here just some facts. were there, books, and how many are left. Only 6% of the Vedas is left today. So they became quite lost. This is all, I will not go through that, this is what we mentioned already. The Puranas, there are also various Puranas, also in various modes of nature. The Purana in pure goodness is Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a commentary on Vedanta Sutra given by Vyasadeva. I already spoke about that, will not repeat myself. Also, Itihasas, I mentioned that Mahabharata and Ramayana are there. And I also mentioned to you these 6 philosophies. So here you can see their names. These are only 5 philosophies here, as I can see. Sankhya philosophy is missing, I don't know why. Okay. And you can see the books and the author. So every time there is a book, there is also a sage who wrote the book and gave the interpretation. So we already said what are Upanishads. There are 108 Upanishads, which are accepted by our disciplic succession and also contain various knowledge of the absolute truth, material world, various personalities in the history of the universe. So now I will talk about a little bit about these 6 darshans or philosophies. Darshan means a sight or a vision. So when you talk about philosophy, it's just you are talking about a vision that someone has of the material world. So there are 6 darshans, and they are known as philosophical conclusions about the source of everything based on different visions. What is interesting is that according to our acharyas, they present different degrees of forgetfulness of Krishna. And it's not that they're not right, it's that they're incomplete. Each philosophy misses something that could bring her to the conclusion that the cause of all causes is Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what Vyasadeva did is that he defeated all these 6 systems of philosophies by establishing from where everything comes from, and that is from Krishna. And that's why he wrote Srimad Bhagavatam as the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. And even the Vedanta Sutra itself defeats all the 6 systems of philosophies. This is like in short, because we don't have time. So Nyaya is the philosophy of logic and maintains that the atom is the cause of cosmic manifestation. So it's very similar to material science today. And it is said that every tattva or knowledge that exists in this world doesn't have to come from India, from any part of the world, can be put into these 6 categories of philosophies, because the concept of it is similar for everyone. Then Vaisheshika Darshan or philosophy, it is philosophy of specialized logic. What that means I really don't know, but through logic they also try to understand the material world. And they say that the cause of cosmic manifestation is the combination of atoms, not an atom itself, but it has to be a combination of it. And because Nyaya and Vaisheshika philosophers, they accept atoms as a source of cosmic manifestation, automatically they reject the Supreme Personality of Godhead and therefore are considered atheistic. So these philosophies also tell us, like, they actually not tell us, but they imply to us what is actually considered theism, like our theistic philosophy, if it includes God. And that's what Srila Prabhupada tried to teach us through writing his books. For example, Bhagavad Gita as it is. It is called as it is because it brings Krishna in the forefront. It doesn't give his interpretation of what is Bhagavad Gita and what is written in the Bhagavad Gita, but Srila Prabhupada presents what Krishna says, always what Krishna says. And to understand that, you have to a little bit read Bhagavad Gita and see in which way that is, he did that, because there are more than 100 translations of the Bhagavad Gita. And we read just Prabhupada, so the question is like, why? And then Prabhupada would say that all these other translations are okay, but sometimes these authors, they give their own vision. of things, which is not correct. And they say that the cause is something else, but the cause is always Krishna. Then we have Sankhya philosophy. It's, as I said, analytical study. It says that material nature is the cause of cosmic manifestation. And again, because they see cause something that is not Krishna, again, they're considered atheistic. But what is interesting is that these 6 philosophies, they based their visions or darshans on the Vedas. So Vedas talk about, spirituality, God. In the end, because of their wrong conclusions based on the Vedas, they are considered atheistic. So that's quite interesting. Yoga darshan. So it's by Pantajali, and you know about Yoga Sutras. And this philosophy maintains that universal consciousness is the cause of the cosmic manifestation. And why it has a wrong conclusion again is because it says that, okay, there is God, He created all of this, but in the end, the Jiva and God, they have the same consciousness. And when we realize this spirituality of ours through Ashtanga Yoga, or through this Patanjali system of yoga, when we realize that, what happens is that we merge into the consciousness of God, which is again a wrong conception, because Krishna is an individual person and Jiva is an individual person. They are separated but not merged into each other. In a way, this yogic darshan goes a little bit, it's very similar to impersonalism, because impersonalists say that we merge into the effulgence of Brahman. So again, God as a person is out of the picture, and therefore again it's considered atheistic. And then we have Purva Karma Mimamsa Darshan, and it maintains that fruitive activities are the cause of cosmic manifestation. They say that there is a God. He's subjected to our fruitive activities, therefore they do not see any need to become devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Basically they see like, okay, the universe has certain laws, and if I act in a certain way, that even if there is God, He has to fulfill my desires because I have acted in a certain way. So basically they worship themselves, because they worship their own strength, because they are the ones who are performing the activities, it's not God. Like God is the one who is controlled by their activity. And because of that, again, they are considered atheistic. And then we have Uttara Brahma Mimamsa Darshan, which I said are 2 categories. Impersonalists, this is Shankaracharya, who rejects the Vedas actually. Even though he doesn't reject the Vedas. He uses the Vedas, but then he says that in the end there is no God and we just merge into the energy of God and so on. And then comes Vyasadeva with Vedanta Sutra Darshan, who says that the absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of all causes. And then he defeats all the philosophies, and then he just wants to glorify Krishna. From everything that you saw on that table, he takes the essence and he writes Vedanta Sutra. And because Vedanta Sutra is made of sutras, which says that sutra is a code that expresses the essence of all knowledge in a minimum of words. So people don't understand that sometimes, and for them to understand it in a good way, he then compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. And then the Srimad Bhagavatam is this essence, the fruit of everything, where you can actually really realize Krishna, who Krishna is. And yeah. Now it's 5. Please bear with me for a little bit more. Then this doesn't matter. It contains certain chapters, the Vedanta Sutra. If you want to know more, you can look for yourself. And Vedanta Sutra and Srimad Bhagavatam. So we said, like, he defeated the philosophies, he wrote Vedanta Sutra, he gave a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. But of course, the time passed by, right? And whenever time passes by, comes new language, new thoughts of people, new conditions, and so on. So therefore, again, there were interpretations. But at this time, we are going to talk about Vaishnava interpretations. So Vyasadeva, he concluded, and he said the cause of all causes is the Supreme Personality, Krishna, right? And all these other commentaries, they accept that. But each commentary, again, gives their own vision of how that is so. I will not go into details, I will just say that we have Advaita Shankaracharya, who says there is no God actually, there is only monism, we merge. Then we have Dvaita Dvaita from, so these are Vaishnava schools, from Nibarka. And so they talk about oneness and dualism. I'm not, it's too complicated to talk about it, but you can see that again it's philosophy, and again it's quite complicated. And there are 6 interpretations. The last one that we follow, number 6, is Achintya Veda Veda, which was given in the 18th century by Baladev Vidyabhushana. And actually, this philosophy, Achintya Veda Veda, comes from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he was the one who united all the philosophy. And who is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? The Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the only one who can do it. And I will make your life easier a little bit now, but I don't know how to do it. Oh. How can I remove PowerPoint and go to like Google? I have to go from here, or, because I can't see. I just wanted to show you the temple in Mayapur. Apologize for the complications and just show you one temple. We can't. It's a temple of Bhaktisiddhanta, it's a temple that was built by Chaitanya Math in Mayapur. It's called Chaitanya Math. And there's a temple of Gaddarvika Giridhari, which were the deities of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And it's not that one. It's Chaitanya Math temple. So this is the temple. These are the deities, and these persons here that you see are these philosophers, Vaishnava philosophers, and they all sit around the deities. And by this, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted to make a statement how Achintya Veda Veda unites all the philosophies, and he propounds them as the essence of it all, and as the truth that combines everything. Because this philosophy, Achintya Veda Veda, everything I mentioned so far, it how do you say it? It includes. So, and that's what smart people do. Other people have headache when they read about it. I was thinking like, my God, I'm going to present this to you, and it's so many information, Overview of the Vedas is not like just this one table where you have all this listed. It has an explanation like on why things are the way they are. And could I go back now to the PowerPoint? Sorry. Yeah. So this is the conclusion. So now we are, if you're with me, we are on this 6th philosophy, Achintya Veda Veda, right? And we have Baladev Vidyabhushana. And this is all happening in India, right? And then we have Lord Chaitanya, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who came here 500 years ago, established what we have today. And he also said that this philosophy will be shared with the rest of the world. So this is what happened. We are all now sitting here and sharing this quite complicated philosophy, but it's not that complicated. And then Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciple, so the one that we looked at the temple and all of these things, is Srila Prabhupada. And when Srila Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is, right, he dedicated it to Baladev Vidyabhushan, the 6th philosophy that unites everything. So this is our line. And this is like, it's good to know all these things, because then you can know how authentic it is, and how authoritative it is, and how everything has sense, and everything has like a road which led to where we are now. Okay. So we have 4 essential books of Vedic teachings that were given by Srila Prabhupada. I mentioned one, that's Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, Bhagavad Gita is the ABC book of spiritual education, essence of the knowledge imparted in the Upanishads. If you remember on the table where the Upanishads are, they're part of the Vedas. So they're essence of the Vedas. Nectar of devotion is for someone who is practicing devotional life, rules, regulations, but also coming from the Vedas. But I'm just saying how, you can see how it works. It becomes complicated and then the sage comes and gives a book. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada came in the end for us and gave the books. Srimad Bhagavatam, we said that is a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, translated by Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada also, even though he translated what Vedavyasa said, he gave his own commentaries on that so that we can understand. And then we have Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Chaitanya Charitamrita is considered one of the Puranas, but Purana which is, recent Purana, because it talks about the history of life of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who united all the philosophies we spoke about until now. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, in our Krishna consciousness movement, we have therefore limited our study of Vedic literatures. So forget about what we were speaking for 1 hour, but also know about it. And we have limited our study to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So these books, they contain the essence of all these tables, and also the conclusion of all the philosophies and establishment of Krishna as cause of all causes. Yes, that's all I wanted to hear. So, hope you don't have a headache and you're managing. But if you have any questions, you're also free to ask, even though we exceeded our time.